Hello and welcome to this short video of navigating the APTEM system for university staff. The video is aimed primarily at academic staff that are going to be working with apprentices and using APTEM to manage their apprenticeship journey. During the video, we're going to cover basic navigation of the system, how to find an apprentice's record or finding specific learners. We're then going to look at the dashboard for the individual, the learner details, and learning plan components. Okay, so this is the live management system, APTEM. When you first log in, you'll come into what is called the dashboard view, and this will show you a dashboard of the learners for the program that you're responsible for. So if it's paramedic, you see paramedic learners. If it's project management, it's project management learners. To navigate through APTEM, you basically use this screen on the left that appears when you put the cursor over it and select any of the settings. So you can see signatures, for example, that you might make. The one we're going to look at today is learners. So when you click into the learners screen, you have the option to filter using a number of areas on the right hand side. So you can filter by group, you can filter by employer, you can do this by typing in the group name. So for example, paramedic, to bring up the details of what's in there, and go down and select the paramedic groups. And similarly with employer, if you want to say South Central Ambulance Service, SCAS, that's typing the name of the employer and it'll appear. I'm not going to look at filters in any more depth. I'm sure you can navigate your way through that. What we are going to do is have a look at a particular learner's profile. I have one here, Peter Amor test. This is a test account. It's not a real learner. It's somebody we've created for the purposes of demonstration and training. So there's no personal details on here. When you click into the learner's account, you navigate through their profile by using the buttons at the top of the screen. It always defaults to dashboard when you first come in. There's an option to look at the individual details for the learner, and this one in particular, learner details, is useful. In here, you can add markers related to an individual status for learning support. So whether or not they've been referred for learning support needs, if they've got a disability action plan, if the time in assessments, etc. On the dashboard itself, it shows you general overall progress for the individual. So in the middle at the top, it shows the apprenticeship components. So here we've got the paramedic degree, the actual academic award, and then the apprenticeship standard. So the dark blue line shows where they are, and the little black bar that crosses the line shows where they should be, where the system expects them to be at that time. For demonstration purposes, we've included functional skills here, and we can add in maths and English functional skills if somebody needs to do that during their apprenticeship, and it allows the academic team to observe that and monitor it. On the right, it shows you if there's anything that requires attention. So here, for example, it's showing a number of components overdue, things that need marking. So if I click on the needs marking, it'll take you through to an off-the-job hour sheet that needs marking, which we will look at shortly. On the left-hand side is an overall progress against the number of learning plan components. So the components can be made up of things like e-learning modules. It can include the academic modules for the academic award, tripartite reviews, off-the-job hours, and the gateway review. And then at the bottom, we have progress against the actual off-the-job hours. So as an apprentice works through the APTEM system, each month they upload a record of what off-the-job hours they've completed. This will appear here, it'll show you a 4-month view, it'll appear here as a light blue bar if it's not been marked, and a dark blue bar once it's been marked by the academic and approved. And at the bottom, it gives you an indication of their progress. So the first one is the minimum number of hours required to complete the apprenticeship. So that's based on the time between the start date and the gateway date. And for earlier programs, it's an average of 20% of their hours during that work hours in that period. For people that started after the 1st of August 2022, it's an average of 6 hours per week. The planned hours are those that emerge as a result of the learning plan. So for a University of Cumbria degree apprenticeship, we usually have significantly more than the minimum required to achieve the actual standard, and that's because of the nature of the subjects that are covered. Submitted shows what's been submitted but not yet marked, so that's represented by this blue bar here. And completed is where the hours have been submitted and signed off. And then finally, the forecast is an indication of what the system thinks the apprentice will complete if they carry on track with the number of hours that they're recording each month. And the bottom part of the dashboard for the individual shows the RAG status, red, amber, green status. So this is allocated to somebody in a review, and it's based on whether or not they are on track and likely to achieve, or ahead of target, slightly behind target, or unlikely to achieve. So if you have somebody that is unlikely to achieve, they would score a red. In the case that you're looking at here, this is, as I say, this is a test account that was set up. So you can see that they started in November 2020, they were due to start in December 2022. So it's not a real example of what it would look like at this point in May 2023 when this video is being produced. What I'm now going to look at is the learning plan and just show you what this looks like in the components. So when you click into the learning plan to start off with, it runs in date order from the start of the program, running down the page to the end. And I'll choose expand all, and what that will do is show all of the components under each month. For each component, you have a description of the components, a date when it's expected that the apprentice would complete it in APTEM, and the current status. Now, for academic modules, what I need to stress is the date when it's expected to be completed is not the submission date. That is the date when the apprentice will have an indication of their mark that they can upload into APTEM to show that they've completed the module. In this case, on the paramedic program, all of the level 4 modules have been APTEM, that's accredited prior learning, which means that on day 1, these are all considered to be completed because they're coming in with a level 4 qualification already. We also have tripartite reviews, TPRs, built into the system. Again, this is a test system, so here we've got a couple of examples of pre-TPR workbooks that we're testing out. But as a rule, we have a pre-TPR workbook scheduled in 2 weeks before the tripartite review is due. This doesn't contribute. The pre-TPR workbook doesn't contribute to the apprenticeship. It's to enable the individual to consider a number of questions so they can come to the tripartite meeting and make a meaningful contribution to it. All programs as a standard also have e-learning modules on prevent, safeguarding, and equality and diversity. And again, these don't contribute directly to the academic award or the apprenticeship, but they are required to be covered by ESFA funding rules and by Ofsted. And once a learner has gone into this and completed it, it will change to completed automatically. There's no need for academics to mark these. What you can see each month is a monthly log of off-the-job hours for the previous month. So in April, they're reporting on the March hours. In May, they're reporting on the April hours. What you can also see here in May 21 is that we've got a couple of academic modules that have been put in. These are called assignments or tasks, but this is the point at which we expect people to be uploading evidence of completion of the module with their marks, and that gets signed off by the academic. With any of these components, when you click into them, a screen appears on the right-hand side giving you more information. So for example, here you can see that the apprentice has uploaded the mark for HPHP 5120, and it's been marked as accepted by the academic, and the component's been completed. You can continue it if you want to go back into it, but in general, we don't encourage people to continue components. If I scroll down towards the bottom of the program, if I look at November 2022, I've got an example here of a off-the-job hours sheet that's been uploaded. So as I say, every month you can see there's been, what we can see here is monthly log of off-the-job hours, assignment, task. Evidence has been submitted. So if I click onto there, we can see that there's a piece of evidence that's been submitted that requires marking. So what I'm going to select to do now is to mark the evidence. Now, pardon me. In here, we've got the piece of evidence that I can click and open. This is one I've opened earlier, so I can demonstrate this to you by just going through to it. So there's the off-the-job hours template. So what this person's recorded is attendance at University of Cumbria lectures, 37.3 hours, 37 hours, 30 minutes. So that is a full week at university, 37.5 hours. When you're looking at submission for off-the-job hours, what you need to be considering is two things. One is is the activity they're reporting acceptable under the apprenticeship rules? So the activity has to be contributing to new learning towards the apprenticeship standard. So, for example, attendance at lecturers is okay. Working in company with somebody who is a qualified paramedic or a qualified project manager is acceptable because they're learning new skills in the workplace. What wouldn't be acceptable would be something like attendance at a fire safety course in the workplace because it's not directly linked to the apprenticeship standard. So the first thing you need to check is that they've got a date and that the activity is acceptable. The second is the number of hours they've recorded. So here they've just got one item, 37 hours, 30 minutes. So what I'd be doing there then is cross-referencing that to what they've claimed. But what we can see is they've claimed 48 hours and 30 minutes here. Now, one of the things I can choose to do here is to go back and edit this. So if I click on the edit button, I can go in because I know that they marked it as 37 hours and 30 minutes. Save that. This has now been updated. I can then mark it. Say it's accepted. And then I can save and close that. And then that changes to accepted. Once that changes to accepted, I complete the component and the status there changes to completed. And if I go back to the dashboard, what we can see in the off the job hours now is that the light blue bar has changed to dark blue completed. One final thing to look at in the learning plan is the gateway review. So all apprenticeships have a gateway review. They've got gateway requirements that the person needs to complete in order to take the endpoint assessment. This is completed in APTEM, so we've got an accurate record of it. So we've got English and Maths functional skills, that's standard across all programs. Meeting all of the KSBs is standard across all the programs. Minimum duration of 12 months is standard. There will then be some non-standard things. So for example, the PAD document is a requirement of the paramedic apprenticeship standard. In project management, you might find there's the APM PMQ. So there will be anything specific to the standard recorded in it, and the gateway reviews are tailored for each standard. And then once that, what you have is here a number of statements related to ESFA rules. So the off-the-job hours, for example, they have to meet the minimum 20%. If they don't meet the planned off-the-job hours by the end of the apprenticeship, you need to give a reason for non-completion. This is what ESFA call a completion discrepancy statement. But we get that signed. Now, in every case, the review and the tripartite reviews must be signed by the university. You do that by just clicking into it, the employer, and the participant. So whenever you're conducting the tripartite review of any sort or a progress review with people, you must insist that the individual and the employer representative goes in and signs it, because this is something that we will be audited on by ESFA. Okay, so that concludes my brief overview of navigation through the APTEM system. If you have any questions regarding this, you can contact the Central Apprenticeship team directly using the aptem@cumbria.ac.uk email address. And in the near future, we will be introducing a system of reporting that allows us to capture and report on APTEM issues. Thank you very much.